Frank will give us his story, which is an excellent story. He's a staunch conservative Republican, which may or may not affect somebody's decision, but as I say, the other two candidates were invited and did not show, and refused to come. So it's not that we didn't want to hear them, but it's that Frank is the only one who had the guts to show up.
Thank you. Good evening again, everyone. Thank you to Rally for America for giving us the time to be here tonight. I think Dan stole some of my thunder. I'm not a favorite son either. I think we've covered that a few times. And something else he mentioned was about educating the voters. And something that seems to be missing from politics in the last few decades, I guess, is truth and facts. And in my own small way, we've been trying to change that. But I'll give you a brief rundown on me again. I think most of you know me, why I'm running. I'm running because I feel our country is in big, big trouble. Our Constitution is under attack. Our First and Second Amendment rights are being threatened. Okay? We see every day something new that comes up. I believe Barry asked a question about how do we stop somebody from not enforcing law, maybe like President Obama when he goes against the Defense of Marriage Act, okay, something that I do support. Well, how we do that is having congressional representatives, your representatives, stand up and do their job. They have the authority to put a stop to that. This man can be impeached if somebody has the guts to stand up and put that on the floor. Not one of them down there in either party has that gumption. I have no trouble with that, whether it's him or anybody else in the office. They deserve to be called on. As I said, I'm a constitutional conservative. I also believe that with the economy being in the shape it's in, we have to make some changes. We need to get rid of Obamacare. We need to repeal it fully. I'm not saying there is not problems in the healthcare system. There are some, but we don't have to scuttle the entire healthcare system that's worked pretty well over the years and is the best in the world just to fix a couple of items. We can deal with those individually and fix them and cure them and make them better. But we don't have to throw everything out. And I would vote for repeal the first day I'm there, as Mr. Romney said he will. As far as the economy, again, we have an abundance of natural resources in this country. Oil, gas, coal, and right now we're not using them to their fullest capacity. If we simply start drilling again, the numbers that they project, we'd have 1 million jobs. 1 million jobs, 1 million more Americans would be working right now, which again, 1 million people start working, they start buying things. It's just a trickle-down effect. Other businesses now start to pick up. Small businesses, luncheonettes, delicatessens. People go out and spend their money now that they're not doing. So everybody benefits. Those little businesses now hire more. So that 1 million number now escalates, okay? We can do these things. This isn't hard. This is not something rocket science, because if it was, I wouldn't be here, okay? This is something that can be done. It can be done quickly. So we have to get rid of the regulations. We've seen this administration impose God knows how many regulations. The EPA needs to be gone. They're killing this country. They're killing this country. They must go. And think of the amount of money we'll save there that we could actually put into something useful. Okay? I mean, that's pretty much my normal spiel, I guess you could say, and I know we're limited in time, so I want to move on. Because there's a few things that have happened since I've seen you folks last. Picked up a couple of endorsements that I'm very proud of. I was just endorsed the other day by the New York State Right to Life organization. I was also endorsed the other day by the Westchester County Firearm Owners Association because I am a supporter of both. I am right to life, and I say that publicly. Most people don't. I do. And I am fully for the Second Amendment. I don't want to see Ms. Clinton run with the UN and try to backdoor the Second Amendment and take that right away from us through treaties. The UN Arms Treaty will do that. And we have to put a stop to that. We need the people in Congress to say, no, we're not going to do this. This is our Constitution. I carry this with me every day I've been campaigning. This is what this country is all about. We need to get back to this. Everything else will work out. But right now, the Constitution, if this current administration had their way, they'd burn it tomorrow. And that's very unfortunate. But as I said, a couple of good things. There's some other endorsements out there that I have. I'm not going to go into them all right now. But I've met with a number of communities, very supportive. We have good support on both sides of the river. Miss Lowy, I had a press conference on her the other day because she has this habit, and she's had it for 24 years, of telling people what she does for them. The problem is, if you look into her record, none of what she said, none, not part, none of what she says is fact. I had a press conference about a week and a half ago, where I stood in front of everybody with the actual bills, okay? Give you an idea, she called a press conference on May 24th of this year. At that press conference, the purpose was to talk about small business and how she was their best friend. She held it at a microbrewery in Elmsford, New York, okay? Well, that was May 24th. On April 19th and April 25th, a month before that press conference, two bills came before the Congress. Number one, on the 19th, H.R. 9 came through. That was the Small Business Tax Cut Act. She stood with these people a month later and told them how she supported tax cuts for small business. But on April 19th, how did she vote? No. A little disingenuous? Yeah. It's a lie. Basically a lie. The 25th, there was another bill came before Congress. Small Business Credit Availability Act. She didn't even vote on that one. Okay. What's that?
No, 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. So anyway, we cited the bills, we showed them the facts, and we proved her to be a liar, that she is and has been for 24 years. Her campaign came up with some insane, I don't know what their reason was, but they avoided the question and answered something else. The facts are the facts. She's been doing this, her mailers lie, her commercials lie, she's no friend to small business, and she's no friend to a lot of people. She hikes the fact that she has tried to keep the interest rates down for student loans. She's voted against it twice. Twice. And in the last Congress, this 112th Congress, in 24 months, she's managed to initiate 24 bills, 12 of which didn't even get one co-sponsor. Not one of them became a law, and they're all in committee where they will die at the end of this session. She has done zero, nothing for this community. And Mr. Carvin, I'll have to talk about it another time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Getting a candidate to stop when he's in it's tough sometimes. Is that a question, Barry? Or
Actually, I have a question, Mr. Dan. Part of the problem that the voters are running into, or at least some of us that, let's say, after 40 years of having their head in the sand, wake up to and find out that the problem isn't getting the voters out. It's getting the voters a say in who the candidates are. And the shenanigans that go on, particularly here in Rockland, between the two parties, is extremely frustrating. After a while, you feel like you've been banging your head against the wall. The problem is, there doesn't seem to be a solution other than keep banging against the wall.
You're right, 100%.
So, it's not just that people don't come out to vote that don't want to be educated, but once you get educated, you realize what you're up against.
I have to figure out how I can answer this without crossing any ethical boundaries and without, I mean, I'm going to lose friends, but they weren't my friends to begin with, so I don't mind losing friends. In fact, at the Clarkstown Republican Convention, I made some statements that put me in the doghouse with the leadership of the county, not the town, not the people in attendance, but with the powers that be. The fact of the matter is, you hit a very important nail on the head. It's that you only get to choose from who the parties let you choose. And frankly, if it were up to me, I'd love to see it become one candidate, one line. That way, if conservatives want to run a candidate, they'll run a candidate. If the Independence Party wants to run a candidate, we'll run a candidate. But that would eliminate a lot of this behind-the-scenes jockeying for all these other lines. There's people in this county who are members of the Independence Party that think they're independent. They don't realize that they're even actually part of a party. Now, I'm not saying that that's all of them, but there are a lot of people like that. When you go up and you ask them, they go, no, I'm independent. No, my wife's sitting over there. She's an independent. She's not registered for any party. That's an independent person. If you're registered for a party, you're registered for a party. But the way you change things is, and they're starting to become inroads. There's enough people have to come out. And you know, unfortunately, some people in this day and age come out and voice their thoughts, and they have some excellent points. They make some very excellent points. But the way they present the points, it becomes so contentious that the message gets lost. If you find people who are articulate and bright and can voice the points without losing their temper, without getting, you can confront somebody without being confrontational. There are ways to make the inroads, and transparency hopefully will rule the day. Certainly, it hasn't ruled it in this last go-round. And frankly, if I weren't running for this position, I may end up stepping into something else where I can affect some change, because I think I'm one of those people who can be articulate, who can speak with a calm head, who does understand what goes on behind the scenes. And it's all about power, and it's not really about the people. And again, I know if you post this on your website, other people are going to see it, and you know, so I'll be in the doghouse again. I don't mind being in the doghouse. You know, dog food is not that bad. But people have to find the right messengers. People have to band together. You know, there are certain groups in this county that you want to call it block voting. Well, block voting can happen just from the general public as well. You have to find a common cause, find a common goal, and band together. You know, the same things that make this country great are the things that make us not so great in terms of the political process. Because the same people who can stand up and say, you know what, Judge Thorson's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And somebody will say that about me. Well, we can't both be the greatest thing. One of us, you know, might be a little bit better than the other. But people get to see it from both sides, and people get to call it as they see it. We have this lovely thing called free speech. But I go back to what I said before. If you become informed, if you know what the process is, then you get involved in the process. We just had, I don't know, 40, 50 people join the Republican committee. Their goal was to infiltrate, for lack of a better term, so that they could challenge the leadership. They were unsuccessful this time around. But you know what? Who knows what happens next time around? More people get involved. Maybe the person that they picked to be their front runner wasn't the right person. Maybe there's somebody else next time that will take it on. But change has to occur. You can't have the same old politics as usual. Again, I said it at the beginning, I'll say it now. The closer you get to the process, the more disgusted you get with it. There are some good people involved, and they have good intentions, but there's some people who have other intentions, and right now, those are the people that control the day. So, you know, all we can do is get the good people to try to fight the fight. Sometimes, you know, no disrespect to President Obama or to Mitt Romney, but if you thought about who would be your ideal person to be President of the United States, I don't know that either of those would be the names that would come to mind. But those are the people willing to get into the fray. You know, you have to, it takes a lot to get up, whether it's a small group like this or a national stage. It takes a lot. You're putting yourself out there for people who are going to basically step all over you. And the really good, talented people of this world, some of them were willing to take that on, some are not. So We need to do some tweaking of the process. We need more good people to get involved, and hopefully we can steer things in a better direction. I hope I answered that well.
This is because what you're talking about is exactly what we've experienced with my campaign. Most of you know I'm a Republican over 40 years. I've worked on I don't know how many campaigns over the course of that time supporting true Republican candidates. This time when I ran, I did pass, collect my signatures, etc., submitted them, and they came after me, the party, because they wanted me off, because I'm conservative, they're not, and I don't make deals, as Dan said here. They endorsed Mr. Joe Carbon on a Republican line. Mr. Carbon became a Republican in '05. Didn't even live in the country for, 20-some years. Came back in 2002. Okay, so I don't know what he knew about what was going on in this country, but it didn't seem like he cared too much because he didn't live here. But when he came back, he registered as a non-party, a true independent, as you said. And Joe wanted to run for office, though. He got back, he was back about 3 years, wanted to run for office. So he knew he wasn't going to do too well on that non-party line, which is not a line. So he turned Republican, and his wife turned Republican as well at the same time. Ran in 2 elections, lost both, and finally won an election as a Republican, third time around, for a position where the individuals involved were pretty much all going to jail. They had a big financial thing in the town, and he won pretty much by default. Anyway, knowing his background, the party leaders on both sides, if you want to call them leaders, endorsed Mr. Carbon. They also knew that Mr. Carbon had voted for Obama in '08 as a Republican. His wife made 2 contributions to the re-election campaign last year. Joe is pretty much against everything that Republicans normally would stand for in principles and values. Not to belabor this point, but we put out a flyer now, because I'm a private investigator, just so you gentlemen know, and full disclosure, as they say, and truth. And I looked a lot into Mr. Carbon, and there's a lot of baggage there. And it doesn't seem that baggage ever bothers these 2 leaders, these 2 so-called party leaders. In 2010, they endorsed a Democrat on our Republican line. So they don't have a real stellar record in candidates. But anyway, Mr. Carbon, one of the most troubling things that I found is what's going on right in his own town. Joe is the supervisor in the town of Rod. One of his initiatives there is the Model American Community Project. The goal of that project, as stated on their website, is to create a utopic community, an attainable utopia. Now, again, not being the genius that some others might be, I still figured that one out. I know that utopias aren't Republican, aren't conservative, and last I checked, they weren't American either. But yet, this is the gentleman that the party leaders chose to run. Now, they do have a history over the 24-year reign of Miss Lowy that they never really put up a candidate who can win. We know Mr. Colty down in Westchester has his printing business, a couple of $1 million a year, not doing too badly in that, and does get certain business from certain candidates. We'll leave it at that. But more troubling than this Model American Communities project that Mr. Carbon is pushing in his town, he founded another organization, I believe it was in 2008, okay? And it's called One World United Virtuous. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It is about a global government, one currency. This is what he's teaching the kids in the town and outside the town. They have speakers come in. You should see the list of speakers they have. It's like a who's who of socialists. Okay? The people need to be educated on this, as was stated before, and we are educating them now. We'll have a press conference later this week where we're going to inform the people exactly what Mr. Carbon is. I have a little flyer here we put together, and the question is simple. If you think that Joe Carbon's a Republican, think again, because he's not. And I know party loyalists, as we were talking about, voting in block because they have to, because the party leader might be watching when they fill out their ballot. The facts are the facts. If you're a Republican, there is no way in God's world, and I can't say God here, that you can vote for this gentleman. It's sickening. But more sickening to me is something I just found out about yesterday. The absentee ballots are out. And I'm listed. But being a third party, they have the leverage of putting you on a ballot in the proper column where they choose to put you. Now, in our race, we only have Ms. Lowy on the Democratic line, Joe on the Republican, and Nita again on working families. Every other line is blank. Now, I know they can't put you on the conservative line and they can't put you on the independents, but they have options for the 5 other lines that are open here. What line do you think I was put on? Take a guess.
The bottom one?
No, I was put on the socialist line.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
The Socialist Party. Me, a United States Marine who served his country, was put on the socialist line. This is not going to last. I'm going to federal court. I'm going to get the ballot changed, and then I'm going to sue everybody involved with this, because this just continues the pattern that they've done throughout this whole process, starting from the day they challenged the petitions illegally, and going through the courts and everything else. So, they have 5 empty lines. There's actually a line that says Constitution, which would be a lot closer to my platform than socialism. So, this is what can be done when we have that good old party backroom politics, as Barry said.
They didn't read your petition when they put you on the ballot.
They have the leverage to pretty much do whatever they want. Yes, the debate, right? I'm sorry. I bow to the greater good. Or bid, whichever. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.